Well, howdy doody, I think it's time to do a, Thomas Trackmaster Halloween style video. I've got the Trackmaster set there called Thomas Midnight Ride. I believe this is perfect to become a Halloween type set, and I'm going to dress this set up with some Halloween, what would you call it, trinkets. And these trinkets are usually quite inexpensive to buy, and I've purchased some which are attached to lollies or candy, as some people might say. And I've got lots and lots of it. I'm also going to dress up some other characters, and I'm going to dress up some Troublesome Trucks, and we're going to have a whole lot of Halloween fun with this Trackmaster set. The Thomas Midnight Ride is a bit of an older set. I've had it down in the garage for quite some time now. I never pulled it out to review, but I'm thinking, well, it's a perfect opportunity to bring it out and dress it up as something totally different. The changes I'll be making will hopefully be reversible, because we don't want to have a Halloween set all year round. And hopefully my processes are nice and simple. Maybe you'll learn something from me, and maybe you won't, but I'm just hoping we're going to have a whole lot of fun.
Adult supervision is required for some of the model making processes used in this video.
Well, I'll come in and do an unboxing of this rather luxurious large, I'm calling it large, Trackmaster set. I've got a feeling I purchased this at Kmart before, way back before they did the silly de-Thomasing of the aisles. Mind you, it may have been Target Row purchased this set. It was that long ago, I have totally forgotten. I should probably say it was Kmart Australia which did the de-Thomasing of the aisles. Probably thinking it came out in the USA. It's probably still okay, I hope. Here's the instructions out of this set. It looks like I've got a little bit of assembly to do. It doesn't look that hard to put together. I think this playset has a scary light note tunnel, and there is some sort of coal loading going on in this part of the playset. Just looking at those instructions, I'm pretty sure that says unload coal. Just taking a look at the goodies here. This is quite a nice wagon. Is that gold or coal? The instructions say coal. Bit weird. If it was coal, it'd be black, wouldn't it? And here's the Thomas. And what's interesting about this one, I've got some of these before. It's what I call the Botox-eyed Thomas. And what's a bit weird about these is there's no detailing, or there's no relief on that door there, door to the cab. If I bring up, this is a modern Thomas. Modern Thomas here, you can see there's relief where the door is on the cab. It actually steps in, but on these ones, it doesn't. So I'm calling this guy a bit of a cheaper version of Thomas. And I've certainly got others like him. There he is. They usually came in the, the packs that came with track and a little red caboose. I have some stickers to apply to this set, and most notably this set comes with glow-in-the-dark track. Just as an in-box appraisal, all in all, it's looking like a fun little playset. I can't wait to dress this up in a Halloween theme. Well, I've turned some of the lights off, and I do like the parts in this playset. It's a very interesting looking playset. I like this over and under Morgan's mine section here. It's quite large. The part I really like is this part which would be inside that tunnel there. When Thomas runs over that scary flashing light kicks on, and that's quite a nice piece indeed. I have not seen that before. Well, here's the playset in its basic configuration. Thomas just comes through the tunnel there. You'll see that scary red light in there flashing away. You know, it's quite an impressive set. It's very simple in a sense. It's only a figure eight, but what makes it impressive is the fact it's a bit of elevation there. Thomas coming back around, and it's got this coal loader. I'm going to try and make all the functions of this coal loader work in one hit. I'll just get the stop acting going here, so Thomas will stop. Here he comes. Okay, he's stopped, and I can unload some coal. Looks like gold to me. And then if I do this, press down on this part here, it loads into that section there, and I can bring it up to the top here. And if I bring it back down, it will load it back into Thomas. We'll adjust, and we can set Thomas on his way again. Very busy day on this playset. Well, let's take a look at just how glow-in-the-dark these tracks are. I'm going to have to turn the lights out and adjust my camera. So here we go. Get ready to be scared. Now I've got to find a little knob on the side of my camera in the total pitch black. Look at that, guys. Look at that. You can see that red light inside the tunnel flashing away, but look at that track. It's a natural light. It's actually quite a big effect. I'm cheating a bit with the camera to make it look so glowy. I've had to reduce the shutter speed right down to, 1/10 of a second. But it's actually quite an impressive effect. If you're in a pitch black room, this is a very, very spooky looking Thomas set. Okay, well, I'm thinking of doing a Ghost Percy. I notice a lot of people on YouTube who do Thomas videos, they love to get, it's a very simple one. Just get a tissue and put it over an engine, and it becomes a ghost train. But I might do a little bit of refinement on this and make this reversible because we don't want the tissue over Percy all the time. I'm going to add a face from that lolly there onto the front of Percy, and I'm going to give a bit of shape and form to this tissue. I'm also going to fashion a bit of a ragtag look to the edge of this tissue because I want it to look, well, like ghosts look. They don't have nice, you know, solid edges. They've got ragtag edges. Onto the sides of Percy, I'm going to put on some double-sided tape. There is a clear version which would have been much better for this job, but I'm going to suffice with what I've got here. I suppose some people call this mounting tape, but it's going to be just enough tack to stick that tissue paper down. Double-sided tape has two sides you reveal to make it work. I'm going to also put a piece over his little face. Bye-bye, Percy. One really important part is to make sure you put the battery in Percy so it's all up and running. You only get one stab at this, because once that double-sided tape makes contact with the tissue paper, it's there for good until you go to take it away. And this is totally reversible. You'll get Percy back very easily after this. From this Thomas and Friends candy blah blah, I'm going to pinch this face, make it a little bit more scary, and stick it on Percy. I think from memory, the way to get these faces out, just get a little screwdriver or something, and the face flies off. I'm just going to get a texture and I'm going to make some really big eyes, some big scary Halloween eyes on this. It's going to be a little bit rough and ready, but I don't care. This is just cheap and nasty and fast and very Halloweeny. Back on Percy, I might just stick a piece of blue tack on the front here over where his face is. The double-sided tape is underneath that. Then I'm going to come in and, so difficultly working through the camera, whack that face on and push it in. Well, introducing my Ghost Percy. He looks sort of interesting, a little bit scary. I don't mind the fact you can see he's green underneath his ghost sheet there. And this is quick and simple, cheap and nasty, and it's reversible. And that's all you need for Halloween. Well, the next chappie to get a Halloween makeover is Stanley. And because he's all sort of white, a bit of red down the bottom, I think what's going to work well with him is a couple of black skeletons attached either side. I'm going to very carefully put hot melt glue down the backbone of this skeleton here. It's clear hot melt glue. It's hot melt glue. I've already tested the fact that this is reversible on Stanley. I'm going to let that go cold just a little bit. I don't want to put it on when it's too hot. And I'm going to line it up and put the skeleton on the side of Stanley. And it's going to look so awesome and spooky, it'll freak you out. And I'm going to come in and do the same to the other side, and it's really important you choose the right hot melt glue here, because some hot melt glues have much higher temperatures than others. This one is one of the ones at the low temperatures. I think people in florist use this sort. I think that's it. Sometimes less is more. And most importantly, I've got to make sure that Stanley will still go through the tunnel with his dressing. Here he comes. Will he make it? Yes. Well, next up is Diesel 10. Some would say, well, he's scary enough as it is. Although he's got a happy face these days. I think I'll get the skeleton here. I'll just rip the head off, like so. Jeez, this stuff's made cheap. And I can see this head's got a seam, and I will split the head down the middle, and I'll probably just whack that face on the front of Diesel 10. Jeez, I hope I put one of those warnings in this video about adult supervision doing this stuff, because, that's it. Some of the stuff's a little bit hairy to do. One skull face. Well, just before I do my fitting and attachment, I was going to have Pinchy up and just have the skull in the front there and sort of, you see Pinchy in the skull face. But then I tested Diesel 10 in this tunnel here with Pinchy up, and look what happens. Guess who doesn't fit? As wacky as this sounds, once you close Pinchy, he'll make it through. How crazy is that? What I'll do is I'll put a bit of blue tack on the bottom of the skull, and I'm going to do a rough line-up. And I'll run Diesel 10 through the tunnel to see if he'll fit. Okay, it's sort of roughly stuck on there. Let's give it a run. He's through. Well, maybe that'll be it for Diesel 10. The fact that it's just held in by blue tack's nice. Totally reversible. I might go and paint that skull silver, but if I didn't have the restrictions of that tunnel piece there, I probably would have come in and laid the rest of the skeleton over the top of him and just had this sort of great big skeleton Diesel 10. Very scary. Well, I've just painted that skull on Diesel 10. Let's check him through the tunnel. Yes, he fits. A little bit of skullduggery on Diesel 10 goes a long way. Good old Rusty. One of my favourites. I'm going to do something very simple for Rusty. I'm thinking about this toy here. Well, this one's got a fan in it, like a batty fan on top. It's got some lights in it, but all I want to really have is this piece here, this pumpkin piece. I'm pretty sure I can get that away take that off and slap that onto Rusty. Then he'll just become like a great big giant pumpkin, and he's also very pumpkin coloured. Well, one thing about this Halloween stuff, it's always made super cheap and nasty. I notice there's a couple of screws in the back of this one. Let's pull it apart. If I take the candy away from the bottom here and peel away some stickers, there's another little screw in there. It's amazing where they hide screws on these cheap and nasty items. And now if this screw's removed, the secret to the world get revealed and how this thing works. Look at that. There's the whole centerpiece there. Oh, sort of crazy, isn't it, when you see it all nude? But the only piece I'm really interested in is this pumpkin head. And hey, this might look really cool. I've got the pumpkin face here. It's a nice little fit on the front of him. It's amazing, just put one thing on an item and it really transforms the way it looks. And I'm going to put the back of the pumpkin on the rear of him, so he becomes like this sort of elongated pumpkin, and I'll just nick off a bit of the plastic on the back end piece there so it fits properly. I think that's a winner. Yeah, so I get a better fit on the back here. I'm just going to file away this bottom part of the pumpkin. Okay, I've filed away a little bit of that pumpkin there, so it's a much better fit on the back of old Rusty here. And that pumpkin is no longer riding high on the back there. And the good thing in the front piece, it just goes on so well. I'll use a tiny little bit of hot melt glue to attach both these pieces, so it's totally reversible. It's always dangerous trying to do stuff in through camera because I can barely see what I'm doing. I'm sort of working half blind. It's like you feel like your hands are on someone else, if that makes any sense. But I like to do it. I like you to see it because I want you to see just how simple this is. And if I hold that there in the right spot and get it back into frame, it should be a winner. And I'll come along and I'll do the same to the pumpkin on the back of him. And again, I'll just be putting a tiny little bit of hot melt glue. Not too much. We're not doing this as a permanent forever thing. And I'm going to stick it on there. Jeez, it's hard working down through camera. I'll just hold it there, wait till that glue sticks or goes cold and sticks the thing on. Hey, say hello to Halloween, the pumpkin-headed Rusty, and I'll tell you what, it looks fantastic. I'm just hoping that this is showing you how easy this is to do, and there's nothing complicated at all in turning the Thomas stuff into a Halloween theme. And let's not forget, let's check to see if Rusty goes through the tunnel. Yay! And here comes Thomas. I think we'll do something quite simple with him. I'm going to put a skull over the front of him. This is a soft rubber skull. I'll just cut it to match the front there, and I'll probably put the ribs. I'm thinking of putting the rib cage over the middle of him, just to make him look more skeletal. Maybe I come along and I cut the ribs or whatever they are, so they droop over Thomas, and he's got bones all over him. I'm thinking I'll cut the back of the head off this skull. Working down through camera again, virtually impossible to do anything nicely, but I'll do my best. Just do a quick skull fit there. It's a nice size for Thomas, I'll tell you what. And I might do a little bit more cutting. I'll cut just into the jaw area here, so it's in there. I'm sort of thinking maybe I'll cut a little scallop at the top for the funnel. Maybe. Well, this skull cap isn't a bad fit. It's actually quite good if I sit it like that. I've done a little bit of cutting so it fits into the front buffer there. But I think what would make it even better to fill it out, because it's sort of got nothing behind it, is I'll put some blue tack in there. Being very dodgy here because I'm looking down through a camera. And if I push that on now, it's going to hold it on, and it's going to fill the skull out. I think that's okay. As I said before, I want to show you that this is really, really simple to do and reversible. We can get Thomas back, hopefully after this skeleton change. You know, just that sort of looks cool, but let's push it just that little bit further. I'm going to add some bones to Thomas, so I'm just going to do a bit of snipping here. I'll take the arms off too. Snip, snip. And I'll cut down through that rib cage, or I hope it's a rib cage. I know you'll correct me if I'm wrong. And I'll come along and do some dodgy work like this. I don't know, stick it down, bring those bones right down to his will area. Something scary like that. And I'm going to put just a tiniest bit of glue along the running board here. Not too much, don't worry, I've already tested to make sure it comes back off. I've got some low temperature glue here. And I'm going to bring the bones down. I want this bottom bone to be down where his connecting rod is. Hope it's a connecting rod. I'll just hold this down for a sec. Well, there it is with the rib cage and other bones on. I suppose, well, that's looking fine and dandy. It's a bit bare on the backside. You know, I could come along and add an arm, I suppose. I don't know, I'm one of these people that maybe sometimes when you do less, it's better off. You know, you could stick an arm in there, and I don't know. It's one of the things, but what I might do is I'll stick the pelvis I hope it's the pelvis. Whatever that big, the bum bone, I call it. I might just stick that on the back just to give the back some fill. This is one freaky video. There goes the glue there, little bit of glue there. Maybe I didn't have to cut that back bit off, or maybe it's reversed. I don't know, I'm not into anatomy. If I was, I'd be a doctor and I wouldn't be making silly videos for YouTube. I'd be earning a lot of money if I was a doctor. Well, this is getting outlandish, but I have checked it through the tunnel. It does still go through, only just. This is what it looks like. Looks like something dragging some feet along. I will go and put some arms in the front here. I mean, I might as well just go completely over the top and have some arms poking out the front. What do you reckon? Well, okay, I've gone for the over the top look with Thomas. You can barely see this Thomas under there. I suppose on the side you can. He's got a pelvis, he's got legs dragging out behind. He's got a rib cage, he's got arms out the front asking, hug me. He's just totally scary. Okay, there are my characters done as a Halloween theme. I've got Ghost Percy. I've got Stanley with double black skeletons. I've got Diesel 10 with a nice chrome skull. I've got the skeletal Thomas. And I've got the Rusty with the pumpkin head and tail. So which one of these makeovers is your favourite? I can tell you which one I think is my favourite, and we're coming up to it. It's not Thomas there, it is Double Pumpkin Rusty. We've got some characters done. Let's load up some Troublesome Trucks of Halloween goodies. I think this first one's real simple. We're just going to put some little ghosts, little devils, a little bit of a witch activity, some more ghosts. You could probably put a little bit of hot milk glue under these to stick them in so they don't rattle around. A bit of a pumpkin action and a ghost right up the back. And I've always got to keep checking that my ghost train fits through that tunnel. Oh, there's a lot of creepy skeletons there. Maybe I can make a load up with this bag of bones. One thing I noticed about these skeletons is that they come apart really easily, so maybe we'll make one truck with body parts of skulls, arms in another truck, and legs in another. I'm having one of those moments where someone says to me, "What did you do at work today, Leo?" "Oh, I was loading up a Troublesome Trucks with skulls." But what may get this looking really good is if I come in and just lightly glue some of these skulls down so we have them all, well, in hero positions. So there we go, I've positioned the skulls so you get the best look at them, and I've lightly glued them. You can probably see a little bit of hot milk glue spider webs in there after I've glued it, and I think that's a done job. I think for the next Troublesome Truck I'm just going to basically rip off the limbs off these skeletons and I'll load it up with arms and legs. I'm sort of thinking that if it looks creepy if you've got like a hand sticking out of the wagon like that, like saying, "Come and get me." And I'm thinking these leg pieces are sort of long and there's a bit of plastic here we want to see at the top on the hip, but we'll cut at the knee. Oh, thank goodness I'm not a surgeon. And I think it'll be more interesting when these are a little bit smaller. Well, I'm just dressing out this second wagon. What looks really good is if you break the bone there on the joint and you lay them in so they're all sort of looking like, well, where joins really are. And you can even break the wrist if you want. And it makes it look really realistic. Well, plastic realistic. And what I'm going to do is just some of the top bones, I'm going to glue them down and hopefully that'll lock down the ones underneath. Well, there's Troublesome Truck number 2, and the bones over the top which have been lightly glued on will hopefully stop the loose ones underneath from falling out. Hopefully that's a pretty good look for Troublesome Truck number 2. I think with the third truck, anyone for ribs? These El Cheapo Halloween skeletons are really easy to pull apart, and what I did was also cut up the side here so I can easily put this onto my Troublesome Truck. Look at that. That's what I call dress to kill. So how's that for a very scary Troublesome Truck train? I've got my skulls up the front, I've got my arms and legs on the second one, and up the back I've got my pelvises and ribs. And for the last set of Troublesome Trucks I'm going to dress up, because they're all black, I was thinking, well, white skeletons are going to look really nice, and I was initially thinking we'll have them sitting in there, you know, one for each Troublesome Truck, but I've got that tunnel to contend with over there, and that'd be a little bit high, so maybe I'll just have them like surfing on top on each of the Troublesome Trucks, and that'd be a neat one to have Thomas pulling around because he's already got a white skeleton on him. Yeah, maybe something this simple is a fairly good look, and what I'll do is I'll lightly glue these guys down. And to really ping off the Halloween feel, let's put some lollies. I call them lollies, you guys probably call them candy or maybe sweets, depending on which country you live in. And then if I stuck that skeleton down on there, then it can be a bit of a, well, pick through the bones to get the lollies. And if it looks like your Halloween Troublesome Trucks are getting empty of candy, you can easily just reload them through the bones. So there you go, 3 totally different looks. Which one's your favourite? I'll tell you which one's my favourite. I'm going to go for this middle one here. It looks like a Terminator 2 Troublesome Truck load. Okay, it's possibly time to take all this over to the Thomas Midnight Ride playset and really see how it looks as a Halloween themed Thomas set. I was just doing some test runs with this skeletal Thomas dragging the skeletons and lollies, and I was having trouble. I got a funny feeling I have to take off basically the pelvis of that skeleton and the legs, as it just keeps getting stuck. What's happening is that it's holding up the back of Thomas, and I'm losing traction on the traction wheels, and those legs get caught up on other things as well. There's a classic example of the problem. The rear wheels have been lifted away from the track. And the problem is this pelvis piece. Okay, I've removed those legs, and Thomas seems to be a much happier player now. Probably doesn't look as spectacular as before, but nevertheless, he's doing the rounds of his skeletal load. And I'll probably have to go through with the other engines and just see where the problems are on each design. Good old Ghost Percy's not causing any problems. He probably looks just fantastic all by himself without dealing with any troublesome trucks. Go Ghost Percy. Well, there's double skeleton Stanley. He's looking very weird. Let's see if he makes it through the tunnel. Come on, Stanley. Show us your medal. Yes, just made it through. Well, there's something you don't see every day. A diesel tent with a great big skull on the front, carrying all those skulls, the bones and whatever else. Will we make it through the tunnel here? Oh, just a bit of a hookup. We have to tidy up in there a bit. Well, there's my favourite, Pumpkin Rusty. Will Pumpkin Rusty make it through the tunnel here? Let's hope so. Oh yes, carrying those ghouls and whatever else. Well, in the end, this is how it looked for the video that I'm going to do, which is a separate video. It won't be on this one because this one's dragged out too much. And in the end, I think I actually quite like Ghost Percy. Ghost Percy is doing it for me. Ghost Percy picks up that smoke and drags it along. Go Ghost Percy. Well, I put a few of these El Cheapo light up spiders and other novelty bits of light. You also had the sign at the back here, this beware sign. I had to keep coming in and pressing the button. Half the time I think it wasn't on. But it had a sound chip as well. I had to destroy the speaker in that, or else I would have been given a DMCA. But Ghost Percy is one of my favourites now. Look at him go. Go Ghost Percy. As one of these simple setups, I just had a big backlight up there and some smaller lights over there and the smoke machine, and I wet down the carpet so the smoke would cling a bit. Just all the old stuff I normally do. I don't do anything extravagant. Well, as Ghost Percy does his last few rounds here, hope you learned something in this video. Maybe I did. And if you'd lasted to the end of this, what would probably is a very long video, I thank you, and as always, bye for now.